Starting out from guard up high. Legs about shoulder width apart. Feet mostly at the ball of your foot towards the front. Like you're about to run. Reach out. You're turning your hand over, aiming for these two knuckles. One, the jab. Same thing on the opposite side when it comes out. You're pivoting, moving from the hip, pivoting your foot. Your knee starts the whole process, like you're running forward. And turning that hand over. Again, aiming with those two knuckles. So really slow. 1, 2. At the very least, you want to end up with your hand about straight, keeping everything in line. Just like that. 1, 2. 1, 2. 1, 2. 1, 2. Everything's coming back in straight lines. 1, 2. You don't want to loop down, come out. Same thing with this one. Doesn't want to drop it down. Opens you up from both sides. 1, 2. Boom, boom. 2. 1, 2. Right now, so what that looks like on the bag is you're going to find your distance. So basically when you have your hand fully extended, that's when you're making the contact. You don't want to overextend your elbow. You want to just slight, because also as you're making contact, that's where you're tensing up all the muscles and everything in your body. Here, and even if like it's a small bag, big bag, it doesn't matter. You actually get a lot more out of using a heavy bag in general to use it to measure distance and how far you need to be when you strike and the accuracy of your strike. So even if you have like a smaller bag and it moves around a lot, don't focus on power on anything like that. You do that on pad work. You can do that on a heavy bag sometimes, but for the most part, it's a lot better to work on coordination and distance control with the bag. So look at this. 1, 2. So that foot comes up at the back. When you throw that back hand, and again, I've got a slight bend in my arm. Not too much. Not overextending, but just 1, 2. And I'm just moving from the legs and from the upper body, not leaning forward. I'm not trying to punch out here, because as soon as you punch here, you're off balance. So just from, again, ready position, hands about eye level, 1, 2. So again, same thing, like even if you're like an opposite stance, I think, most people are going to be orthodox anyway, which is where you have your left foot forward, your right hand's back. A lot of right-handed people, it's your power side. So you want that to follow up. The jab is more of like a searching, finding distance. Then once you find that distance, you can drive that rear hand in. Again, this like just from a very basic standpoint. There's obviously like a lot more layers to it, and you'll get into different things where you're looking at use the jab to hide someone's vision, come down to the body. And all of this is kind of happening in the legs. You don't want to reach forward. You're leaving yourself in an exposed position. Even if you're in a guard here, it takes you longer to get back to a point where you're going to be able to attack. Your only attack from this position is to come in here with a hook or something else. But again, just ignore that right now. Keep it very basic. Just 1, 2. That's going to be the basis of like 90% of what you'll do a lot of the time. It might be in different ways or whatever. It might be 2, 1, 1. But you're always going to use, those are your 2 basic punches. Those are the 2 simplest punches. And your rear hand coming straight forward, assuming you practice it a lot, it's going to be one of your stronger punches. Later on, you'll get into different things like hooks and whatnot. But for now, when you're working on basic stuff, you just want to focus on good stance, good stability. So even if you're from the opposite side, same thing. Looking for the distance, bringing the back hand forward, and when you do that, always make sure your other hand is back here. You want to be guarded. Even when it's fast. And all of your your power is coming from that back leg. Very, generally speaking, when you're doing bag work, what a lot of people don't do is throw their punches at the appropriate level. When you're standing upright, at the very least, your arm, you kind of want to make like a 90-degree angle here coming out. But it's more of, it's a little bit higher, because if you were actually going to be hitting somebody and, you know, striking to the head, this is where a lot of your endurance and everything is going to, you're going to get tired fastest, is punching up here. A lot of people punch down like this. You don't want to punch down like that. You're going to slip, you're going to miss. You won't get as much power out of your punches even if you're going for a body shot. Going for body shots is always about changing levels. You put the motions together of changing the level, but you're coming down and you're still punching up. You still got that 90-degree angle, keeping yourself strong. All of the power that you're getting is going to be coming from your legs. So a lot of stuff is going to feel tired at first, and when you get tired, a lot of people are just going to want to stand, throw punches. It's not the effective or appropriate way to do it. And again, you're focusing on where your fists are landing, focusing on distance. So here, I have to reach differently. Coming down, I turn out more. But I'm still keeping the power here. I'm still keeping my head above my feet in the same way. I'm not reaching out for it. But I'm making sure that my arm is extended the same on each time. You can get into like further distance stuff where you're jabbing out here. You make a slight step before you throw that back punch. Here, power is still coming from the back. You're not too far forward. And it also kind of brings you offline, but that's a whole different thing later on. Just keep it very basic. So 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. That's what you want to focus on first. Super simple, strong feet, strong base. So that way you can't be pushed back. You have power behind your punches. Not floating around too much, tipping, tippy-tappy kind of stuff. It can work sometimes if you're bare fist, but if you're talking about, generally speaking, you want to be solid. And even if you're bare fist, it's good to be solid behind your punches. There's a lot of kind of different philosophy with how you fight in a glove versus barehanded, but generally speaking, in training, focus on how you hit with gloves. Training even just like the basic stuff like that, getting a good base, you're going to be so much better off than the average random person walking down the street if you ever have to defend yourself.